All right, welcome in everybody. Once again to day 3 of the United States Association of Blind Athletes National Blind Sports Week celebration. And this is our second session of the day. And we're gonna continue to talk about the sport of Judo. My name is Bill Kellick. I'm the Marketing and Public Relations Manager for USABA. And I'm pleased to have with us today 2016 Paralympian Ben Goodrich. Now, Ben took up the sport of Judo in 2011 after wrestling throughout his young life. And 5 years after that, he was in Rio competing for Team USA at the Paralympic Games. So quite a story we're going to hear today from Ben Goodrich. And without further ado, let me bring Ben in and thank him for joining us. Welcome, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Ben, tell us a little bit about your story. And at the end of that, we'll give you a few questions, and we invite everybody who's watching on Zoom and Facebook to please post your questions as well if you have them for Ben. So Ben, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, for sure. Please do. I'd love to engage and stuff with any questions or anything that everybody has. So I guess my story started I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, and in 1992. I was born with a congenital disease called aniridia. So it was just a mutation in my chromosome, and so it just kind of happened where my eyes just didn't develop, and so I didn't get the color part in my eye. So the color part, which is called your iris, as you can see, there's no color part in my eye, and that prevents me from focusing, affects my acuity, so that everything is more blurry. It affects light perception, so that I have high light sensitivity. And because of those things, I went through a lot of tests as a baby, trying to figure out what would be best for me to develop, or my parents had to go through those. I was none the less wiser being an infant, obviously. But going through those tests were definitely stringent. And then as I grew up, by the time I was 5, 6, 7, those younger years, I obviously noticed that they had me wearing glasses. They had me trying to use different devices to see things on either the whiteboard in the classroom, or for my books that I was trying to read. I know that I resisted a lot of that stuff. I didn't really want to be different, just as like I think a lot of people don't want to be different. But at the same time, I wanted to be a part of everyone else and be included with everybody else. So I think one thing that I learned was really good was everybody liked the cool devices that I had, right? So I had a CCTV to help me read my books. I had this and that. So that was definitely one way I was able to fit in to my classroom and fit in with all the rest of the kids from the day to day. And then getting older and getting into my teen years, I started being more athletic. I wanted to break out and see who I was and what I was doing, and what really fit for me. I guess what really fit in. Obviously, like most kids, I wasn't really interested in the academics as much. I enjoyed a lot more of the fun playing outside. So I joined pretty much every kind of sport I could at school. I went through and I did cross country even one year. I did soccer, I did wrestling, I did track and field, I did football. So I did a lot of these sports, and I did pretty good at a lot of them. But they all had their points. I even did T-ball until my mom said, no, you can't do this anymore. It's too dangerous. You're going to get hit in the head with a ball, you know? You can't see it coming. And so there was a lot of things I didn't want to give up because I wanted to be a part of that team and part of that group. And so the sport that really stuck out to me, and a lot of that, the one that didn't really force me to have to be able to see in all situations, was wrestling. It was in a close contact sport. It was an opportunity for me to really showcase my athleticism, my strength, my powerful attitude, my everything that I had to offer, I could show there, and it wasn't dependent on my sight. And so, and it was also individual. So it was all up to me. What I did would affect what I did leading up to competitions and stuff would affect how I did in that competition. So, so I kind of took wrestling on as my main sport. I was pretty proficient through high school. I wrestled with all able-bodied people. I didn't take touch starts just because I didn't want to showing a weakness for them. I didn't want them to be able to come up with an excuse or something of why something happened. I wanted to make sure I could do it. And so I went and I competed with the able-bodied there. And so maybe I was a little less fast on the start, maybe the takedown, but at the same time, I made up for it on the ground, made up for all the hard effort and the hard work and stuff that I put in earlier in that. So I went through high school, graduated high school, athlete of the year, MVP for the wrestling team, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I didn't think that I could compete in college at a college level in wrestling. No matter, because the touch start was leaving, so I wouldn't be able to do touch start if I wanted to. I wouldn't be able to do all these things, and the level of competition just got that much harder. So I wanted to stay in athletics because I enjoy it so much, or because I did enjoy it, and I still do. And so I decided to take PE classes. And one of the PE classes I took while I was going to the University of Minnesota was a judo class. So I took a judo class, and starting out with it, I thought, okay, this is really similar to wrestling. This is kind of like wrestling. And I'm doing throws, so it's going to be, okay, it's a little bit more throws, and I can't attack the legs. Okay, there's little different things here. I can choke, I can arm bar, but I can't do this and that. So it felt like it was a kind of a branch off of wrestling in the beginning. And I was like, this is really cool. This is something I can, something I loved and something I can kind of continue with. But then at the same time, as I progressed, it did change. So I TA'd for the professor, so I could stay in the class, stay in that kind of realm of things and continue with that class in the next semester. And then after that, I joined the club in town that he was teaching at outside of college. And then from there, people had seen that I was he had reached out to people in the judo community saying that I'm a visually impaired athlete, and connected me to the right people. So I was able to get in contact with Eddie Liddy and Heidi Moore in order to see if I was a viable option, or see if judo was something that would work well for me. So in that kind of essence, my eyes were kind of opened. I didn't really know anything about judo before this stuff happened, before I was introduced to Paralympic judo, by being introduced to those people from USA Judo. I didn't know that was an option for me to have that kind of aspiration and stuff for life, that kind of new life goals. And so I really wanted to finish my education though as well, since I had started it. So I finished my education at the University of Minnesota. I got a double major in accounting and finance. And then right after I graduated, I moved out to Colorado Springs in 2016. During the whole time that I was finishing my degree and stuff during college, there between pretty much 2012 and 2016, I had gone to a couple tournaments. I went to Germany, and I went to a tournament out in Colorado Springs, and they were international competitions. And I did pretty good. The first one I did was my last year of juniors, where I could actually compete at that level. So I had an age limit there of 19. And so that was my first year. And then after that, I started competing with the seniors. And so I was on the lower end of the spectrum of competition level. And I had not done it in the past prior to this, other than my wrestling background. So it was definitely a learning curve. And I think I tackled the learning curve pretty well. And I was pretty happy with how I did that. I was in the lucky position as being in 2016, we still qualified by country. So I moved out to Colorado Springs 3 weeks after graduated college, which was January 2016. And then in April of 2016, we had trials. So the trials, like as I said, I was lucky that I was able to do it as a qualified by country. So I was able to fight the person in the weight class that had qualified the weight class. I was able to fight them off to take the position. So I think that was the highest or the most Paralympic judoka we had in one bracket at a national tournament ever, because everybody wanted that spot. So we had 10 Paralympic judoka fighting in order to go to Rio. So I fought my way through the bracket to the person who had qualified the bracket, and then I fought them best 2 out of 3. So I was able to get through that, and that was an amazing accomplishment in itself that I was really proud of, and I was just kind of awestruck that the reality was happening where it was. And so because I felt like I had pushed myself so far that I had tried to overcome and persevere all these different things, and throughout like my high school, and then it ended, and then through wrestling, and then it ended, and then into judo. Now I was addressed with all these different challenges and all these different outcomes that could happen, and I was just happy that I was able to successfully overcome those and get to this spot so close to when I started the sport. And then going to Rio, it was an eye-opening experience. It was something that I'm super proud of, and it's really hard to describe just the ambiance of how it feels when you're there, when you're in the chute, when you're prepping to go out on that mat to fight that opponent across from you. And so I've had my injuries along the way. I've had this and that, but I think one thing that I was planning on that I was really looking forward to is to really producing well in Tokyo and coming back and showing that I can medal now. So I've been there, done that. I've been a participant, a team member. Now it's to get on that podium and medal on that podium. So it's been a hard year, but we are working towards that goal, and looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel here with Tokyo happening in 2021.
That's great, Ben. Thanks for sharing your incredible story. And I'd like to ask people on Zoom and Facebook, if you have a question for Ben, just post it and we'll get it asked. But I'll start you off with a few, Ben. You mentioned your transition from wrestling into judo and how that evolved. You were only, like we said, in the sport for 5 years before you found yourself in Rio. Did you have time to develop a role model in the sport of judo, or have you developed a role model since then? Maybe somebody you like to emulate your game after?
Well, I definitely have some role models. I think as far as in the sport of judo, uh, I really find so Dart. So Dart's just a year older than me. So D'Artagnan Crockett was a medalist in 2012 and 2016. So he kind of followed the same kind of path as me, where he came from wrestling. Wrestling was what he kind of lived and breathed um, through high school and through his younger years. And because of the same situation, or similar situations, I mean, sorry, where that was kind of looking like the end of the road for both of us in that regard or in that aspect. That I could kind of look and play off of what he has done and what he did to make those things work and make his career something special in that transition from wrestling to judo, and that it can be done. And so that's definitely something to look after and something that kind of as a role model. Even though he's only a year older than me, it's still somebody that's in the same situation kind of as me, and that I can lead from there.
Great. And what would you say are some good habits of a successful Paralympic judoka?
Well, hard work, and being willing to take a little bit of a licking from now and then, as far as hitting the mats. So, as Mark said, I mean, in your beginning years, or when you're first learning techniques as far as throws or other things, um, the you're gonna definitely be throwing a lot more than you would be if you were on a higher level. So as you start, it's going to be a lot more intense on your body as far as for the regard of getting thrown or whatnot when you're entering competitive judo. And so you're going to have to learn how to fall properly, obviously, and that's a very important thing because that's going to make it a lot better. And then also you need to just be able to know your surroundings and know who you're going with, and know the people that you're training with, so that you can come out okay. Because yeah, it's going to take a lot of hard work. So like you're in the dojo. I would say most people usually do a 2-hour training or so every other day. So 3 to 4 times a week at least. And then they're in the gym another 3 to 4, usually about 4 times a week. So you're in there doing that. And then if you want to get a little extra cardio in, maybe you need to cut a pound or two for a competition that's coming up or something like that. Then that's something you have to do. And so I think hard work and perseverance and being willing to put all your effort out there, put that full effort out there, is going to be the most important thing, and definitely the thing that I think got me the farthest.
And Ben, can you talk a little bit about what life is like as a resident of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Training Center in Colorado Springs? Give our listeners an idea of what that entails and what is all provided to an athlete like yourself.
Well, I was, or I guess I am still a resident athlete at the Olympic Training Center. So I moved out there in 2016, as I said, and at the training center, you have been kind of given it's kind of like a scholarship. So your NGB, your national governing body, which is USA Judo, has seen your ability to fight and thought that you were the best person for their position or a certain number of beds that they have there at the training center. So they thought that you were the best person suited for that place, that you would prosper the most and obviously be a good contender for the upcoming games or the next games. So at the training center, it's a very full service facility. You have the gym, which is open pretty much from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then also you have a cafeteria that's open most of the day, which is from pretty much from 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. And that can be dangerous, obviously, for weight management sports such as judo. So you have to make sure that you, even though the food is high quality food, you got to make sure that you're eating the right calories and the right number of calories. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. They have a full sports nutrition department there, so you can work with a nutritionist there on campus as well. And they have a sports sciences building where they can test like different things, like your body fat percentage or BMI, things like that, where they can make sure or give you the right pointers in order to facilitate the best athletic performance for an upcoming tournament or to get yourself in the best shape possible with your training. So now that it's the end of 2020, almost, I would have been out at the training center for 5 years, but with COVID, I've obviously been a little absentee, but I am planning on going back to the training center next week on Thursday. So that should be my reintegration into the training center after a couple months. So I'm looking forward to that, to get a little bit more focus and structure into the training schedule.
Yeah, you mentioned regaining a little focus and structure. I bet that's been a big upheaval in your life. Talk a little bit about what the past 6 months has done to your training focus and structure.
Yeah. So at first, I was, so in March when everything shut down, I was at the training center. I was training. I had just come back a couple weeks, just about a week and a half before things started shutting down from a month-long trip in Europe. So I traveled through Germany, Sweden, Poland, Kazakhstan, and then I got back to Colorado, and I was back in Colorado for about, like I said, about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then everything started closing down. So I was, to some extent, at the point in time, happy that I had made it back to the U.S., that I had got back home pretty much. But then life was kind of changed, obviously, a lot because everything started shutting down. So at the training center, or in Colorado Springs, I had a part-time job as well outside of the training center, so that I could get some extra income to help pay for travel expenses or expenses having to do with my training or competitions. So I worked for the city of Colorado Springs in their finance department, working with sales tax. And I continued working there, but I wasn't able to train at the training center. So it turned more so into an apartment for me at that extent for most of March, April, and May. For the first 3 months, it was pretty much an apartment, and I went to work, and I worked out in my room. I picked up some bands and some kettlebells from the gym, and I was pretty much to some extent quarantined in my room. And so it was definitely at times hard to really find that focus and the motivation to be to feel like you were going to get out of it, to not feel trapped. So that was definitely something hard to work through with the first few months, and everything was shut down everywhere else. So I didn't think there wasn't really any other options for me to go anywhere else. There wasn't any better things to do from that. And so then come June, they ended up changing their policies, and now Life at the Training Center, which I'm going back to right now, is they have created a bubble structure around, pretty much around the training center, or the aspect of a bubble, creating a bubble by not allowing people to leave campus. So they started that in June. So athletes are required to stay on campus if they want to train there. So they started that in June, and so they said I couldn't go to work. And so because of that, I had to find other opportunities, because I felt like if I wasn't able to train and I wasn't able to go to work, then I had to change something up. And so then I ended up coming back to Minnesota. And being in Minnesota, obviously I have to create my own method of getting my training in. So I was able to get back to my old club here in Minnesota and work out with those guys, as well as I've been going to Lifetime Fitness with a couple of my friends from back home here. But at the same time, it's hard to I have to depend on, I would say, on them to be able to get to the facilities. I'm not there at the facilities as I am in Colorado. So that was definitely something that as a visually impaired person, not being able to drive, it's definitely that's something that affects it. And then also, uh, the aspect of I was able to get a workout plan from the strength coaches and stuff from Sam Garner in Colorado. But at the same time, it's really hard, I feel like, to not have a team camaraderie. So I feel like I really prosper with others around me in the gym, but being around and doing things on my own, and doing workouts on my own is very difficult. And I felt like, and so that was definitely a tolling thing that I felt. Yeah, and so I'm just looking forward to getting back to the training center, so that I can kind of get this show back in the road, and then eventually getting over to Europe and Sweden, so that I can train even better, because their clubs are going to be more open and more willing to compete. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, obviously trying times for any Olympic and Paralympic athlete during these last 6 months and their training regimens. Do you have a motto that you use in your life that maybe gets you through hard times like the past 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my big mottos is iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. So Philippians. But I I just feel like I'm so not judo's not my whole life, but judo's a facet of a place and a team and a cause that I'm involved in. And uh and it's an important thing for me that that I'm making myself a better person for the people around me, that I'm being a good person to the people around me, that I'm helping them. and and I like to see uh the same thing back to me. And so um I I enjoy being able to train with my own club. I enjoy, or my old club, that I'm able to make them better. And I and I think they make me better too, in the regard that I'm thankful for what I have, and to make sure that I am thankful for what I have. Um, and then, I mean, it's definitely been an interesting time, but it's definitely an experience. I mean, I'm definitely outside of my comfort zone.
Ben, what has been your most memorable sport experience? It can be either one that you've participated in or one that you've attended.
Well, I guess just going back to Rio. I mean, just the whole experience of going through uh, like registration and all that kind of stuff, seeing the village, um, seeing all the buildings, all the things that were built, and being a part of like that whole realm of the Olympic and Paralympic movements was just overwhelming and so crazy. I wouldn't I wouldn't trade that for anything. And it's such an experience. I think one of the funnest things um, that I got to do, like in Rio, was so all the countries give their athletes and staff and stuff, or not all the countries, but most countries give their athletes and staff pins that they can carry around and stuff in different packages to give to and trade with other athletes. And I think that was one of the coolest things that I remember from there, with the regard that it's not just the competition, but it's also on top of that, just the life experience of meeting all these people from different countries, different cultures, different races, all that kind of stuff. That it was just so overwhelming experience, and I'm just thankful that I was able to do it. And now that I have experienced it, I want to make it that much better by getting on that podium.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, looking back, what if 5-year-old Ben Goodrich walked into the room? What advice would you give him?
I think never give up. I think God has a plan for you, or your plan is going to go right where it needs to go. I think a lot of times we're a little bit nervous about the future or what it all holds, but I think that if you keep pushing hard and you keep working, and you're a good person to the people around you and stuff, good things are going to happen to you. And I think that through all the different obstacles and all the different setbacks and injuries and whatnot, there is somebody out there that is willing to help. And yeah, and I just hope that everybody just keeps pushing and gets to the end of their troubles that they're dealing with, and can overcome those things.
All right, we have quite a few questions coming in from the viewers. I'll start with this one. Do you ever practice with athletes from other countries? And do you stay in contact with friends you've made internationally?
I do. So there's a great story behind that. So I do train with athletes from other countries. Most tournaments we have training camps after a lot of tournaments so that we can train with other individuals. So a lot of times in judo, we're talking about training partners, or you would say different bodies to work with, different training techniques to work with and stuff. And so obviously people from different countries are going to have vastly different training styles. Like Japanese people are going to have vastly different training styles than Russians, or Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan are going to have very similar ones rather than like France. So there's a lot of different training styles, and so you get to see a lot of those different techniques and aspects and stuff at those training camps. And so it's really good to train with other people from other countries. Yeah, and we definitely stay in contact. So I met my girlfriend Nicolina. She competes in judo for Sweden, and I met her in 2017, and we started dating in 2018. And so I can definitely say that I stay in contact with people from other countries. So yeah, and I think that's been another really difficult thing with COVID and not being able to get to Europe at all during these last 7 months. And so that's definitely been another added obstacle. And so I'm looking forward to the world beating this virus and things getting back on the right road. But yeah.
Yeah, great story there. Our next question, how do you develop a set strategy when competing?
So a set strategy. So I think for me, I try to find techniques that work best for me. So a lot of times I find one or two techniques and then change things like different hand techniques or hand workings around those two techniques, so that I can make sure I get those into a match. So obviously there's people that are opponents or fighters that you're gonna compete against that do have other, or they're good against some people, or you know what they do, or you know what they like to do. So then you can play against their weaknesses or strengths or whatnot. So I think that's something that's very important to game plan and to make sure that you know your opponents well. So I know, like for instance, one of the German fighters, Oliver, he's a very strong guy, and he's very forceful, but he's always pushing forward. So since he's always pushing forward, and he likes foot sweeps and stuff too, so then I can catch him on something where he's pushing forward, and I pretty much do a shoulder throw underneath, or a drop shoulder throw, and it's just a very as Mark Vink said earlier today, very easy throw because you're using the gentle way, of the kuzushi, because you're using their force against them, kind of thing. So it's being able to look at, and that's a great thing too about technology, where you can look at videos and stuff of past tournaments and past competitions, so you can get all that information as well. But yeah.
All right, another viewer wants to know what weight training exercises are most important for judo.
Is that in the sense of like cardio, or
Weight training.
Okay, yeah, so in the gym. So I would say a lot of strengthening the back and the shoulders, because in judo you're going to have a lot of upward motion of pulling upwards, because you want their center of mass to be higher, so that when you're throwing, you want yours to be under theirs. So I would say back and shoulders is important, and so I think like the aspect of, like, you could say like cleans or different rowing is pretty important stuff for that, to help strengthen those muscles. And then obviously legs are very important, and I think also, which comes with the weight training stuff, is to make sure that you're being good with your flexibility, because I think you get in a lot of situations, whether it be on the ground, or whether it be doing foot sweeps or different techniques, where you need to make sure that your hips are able to move well and able to get into position properly, because those can really affect how good or how positive your technique is going to be, and then also preventing injury on those points of so you're being better on your body for the long term, so you can stay in it longer.
All right, Ben, final question. And this is a two-parter coming in on Facebook from Carl Arredondo. What is your go-to junk food? And what type of music do you train to?
So type of music I train to is going to be like rock, probably like, I don't know. I like 60s and 70s a lot. So I'll do 60s and 70s rock probably. sometimes it depends on my mood. Sometimes I'll do some easier stuff, or I'll just get into a feel good, maybe some country music as well. But mostly 60s and 70s rock I like. And then maybe some childhood hits from 90s or something like that. But yeah, go to junk food. I would say gummy bears. Our nutritionist said that it's okay and to eat a few gummy bears during competition, maybe between matches, so that you can get some quick sugars. And I kind of took it to the extent of, all right, I guess that means I can have it all the time, right? And so I would say gummy bears are probably my my go-to junk food.
All right, Carl, there you go. From inside from Ben Goodrich. So Ben, I want to thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to join us here on our National Blind Sports Week celebrations, and best of luck with your training, and look forward to seeing you back at the training center soon.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me, everybody, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
All right, thanks again, Ben. And don't forget to stick around today. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to focus on a winter sport later today, an interesting sport of blind hockey. We're going to be joined at 5 o'clock Eastern by members of the USA Blind Hockey Team, including head coach Mike Zvok, team captain Tim Kane, as well as representative of USA Hockey and their blind hockey program, Doris Donnelly. That's at 5 p.m. Eastern. And we'll wrap up this Wednesday of National Blind Sports Week with a look into the USABA programs that we provide. Our membership and program coordinator, Kat Bokamp, who is a Paralympian herself in the sport of fencing, will be on at 7 p.m. Eastern to talk about our program. So be sure to tune in for both of those sessions. And until then, we hope you're having a great National Blind Sports Week. And don't forget to get out and get active this Saturday for National Blind Sports Day and celebrate. So everybody, we'll see you later and have a great day.